Okay, it's recording.
Okay. This is Anna Tamel. I'm calling this regular meeting of the Cornwall Planning and Zoning Commission to order at 7:06 p.m. on Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. Regular members present, besides myself, include James Laporta and Christine Gray. Alternate members are Bruce Bennett, who will be seated for Keith Bodwell, and Will Evans, who will be seated for Phil West, and Michelle Shipp, who will be seated for Steve Sicardi. This is an amended agenda because there were some zoning permits added at the end, so you can see those on the back page of the agenda. We're going to start with approving our April regular meeting minutes, which I expect you all have read, and therefore we could have a motion to accept at any time.
I have just a quick question with the dates. Let's see, dated, Matt Kiefer dated March 13th, and then it said also.
Yes.
Did you take out the second? It said dated twice. I read it the first.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, impressive. Anything else? Anybody else?
No, I moved the minutes as amended.
Are you moving to accept the minutes?
Yes.
I second.
Christine is seconding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes pass.
I abstained since I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, good for you. We are going to review the new applications next, which are none. You didn't write none.
Right? I was hoping someone would come in.
Pending applications, none. Correspondence and communications, any?
Not of any substance, no.
Okay. Staff report.
I wanted to point out that there are several new amended agenda items because I usually discuss my zoning permits under.
I need your voice a little louder, maybe,
okay.
for Richard.
I usually discuss zoning permits under staff reports, and as you will see, there are some things that are added. For instance, we all know that Wade Wolf has had a business for a while up on College Street, and he also has equipment at 147 Popple Swamp Road. As you can see, that's a validation of an existing contractor business. I am working through my list of contractors to make sure that in the file they have information in the file, that they're registered with the town, that they're registered with me, and I'm going to encourage that the website make sure that all of these contractors are up and about, and I'm going to slowly work through the ones.
I appreciate that a lot. The most important thing about it is it's a home business, right? And when they sell the property, if it's not on the deed, the next person won't have that option. So I'm glad you're pursuing it.
And then I wanted to discuss a couple other things that have come up. I think we need to talk, continue to talk about West Cornwall and the issues that we're going to continue to have prior to any wastewater treatment plant being online. The library is hoping to have a pop-up pottery show in the library for a month with staff over there. As you're very well aware, the library has no bathroom. It has no real running water, no real connected toilet at this point. Hopefully the porta potty will go into the Ben project, and parking will be down there. But as we continue to hope that the restaurant opens up and gets online, and that everybody is willing to share and play in the proper sandboxes in the village, so that people can have businesses and try to revitalize the community before there is, the final approval of wastewater treatment plant.
So we're seeing cooperation between the new restaurant, Frank's, the former Frank's restaurant, and the library in terms of parking and toilets. Is that correct?
Yeah. for the meantime, until the parking obviously can go down
Right.
into the bend. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. The porta potty would go down into the bend, which it should be down in the bend all
Well,
summer, yeah.
do you remember, James, the great big meeting that we had about the Bend project?
Yes. Yes.
That was a long time ago, and we approved it. And it was supposed to have this fabulous toilet facility. And I went down there just by coincidence. I was out walking and I decided to go check out the toilet facility because I remembered being impressed. And there was none. And I think you need to tell the town that they have to either start all over again, get a new permit, because the time has gone, right? There's a time frame that the town has missed. Or we ignore that and just put pressure on the town to do it.
No, I think it's a conversation that needs to be restarted again.
So will you take care of that, or do I have to do it?
No, I will take
It'll
it.
go much better if you do it.
And then I wanted to also
Just a
move
second, Michelle.
similar issues in Cornwall Bridge as we are moving forward with new businesses coming back in, businesses that, like the coffee shop, John Zeiser, who is opening a home-based business. He's a coffee roaster, and he will be part of the farmer's market. He will be selling his coffee here at the farmer's market in the village. And he's roasting coffee, and he might have an occasional person picking up coffee. So he's down on River Road South. The bank is going to have 3 businesses, hopefully going in. Beside Ronnie Lozana and his wife already have 2 businesses there, and Kate Ward is hoping to start a 3rd business as well as a bank. So signage, again, is going to be an issue that we really need to address in villages, including Cornwall Bridge, as they get crosswalks, discussion.
I'm going to come back to that signage issue a little bit later in our planning workshop. Okay.
All right, and then the final thing that actually came up today, and this is about the fact that Footfields now has trailers in which Little Guild has moved in. There are dogs down at Little Guild, and there is staff down at Little Guild. People are starting to use the facilities, I believe, and there is a conversation about food trucks. And as you know, we heard about food trucks during the cidery application, and Gordon called me and he said, where, a vendor like a hot dog stand that was down in West Cornwall for a while in front of the gift house or the wish house. That's a hot dog stand has to be removed every night. A hot dog stand cannot stay a food truck the same way. They come and go. They're under strict supervision with Torrington Area Health, inspected, et cetera, et cetera. But, so there's talk about a food truck perhaps being in Footfield. And I think that if people are going to use the trail that the Cornwall Conservation Trust has opened up.
Heavens, we just couldn't possibly go hiking without something to eat.
If people are playing or using the facility, which would be nice.
Yeah.
And I think that the conversation with the Recreation Commission, including our illustrious member sitting to my right, needs to be talked about what they are looking at with possibly maybe the trailer or some sort of facility might stay down there. There's a septic system associated with it, and we start to do some planning and have conversations before you're boxed in and things have to be moved out because we haven't discussed.
I appreciate you bringing this up, and because you and I already talked about this, I have a little plan for addressing both the signs and food trucks when we're done with the first agenda item for our planning meeting. So we'll move on. Was there a third?
No, I think that was it. It's been pretty busy in the land use office because we're still cleaning up storm issues from last year. Obviously, the bridge down in in West Cornwall. We've got all sorts of things that are getting started in Dibble Hill Road, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be the need coming up, as Anna and I have also addressed, to talk about better stormwater regulations, LID, whatever, because that is, if we get another summer like we did, we will.
Which we will. Michelle had her hand up earlier, and then Bruce.
Back to the bend. So it is the town that provides the porta potty down there? So when you are talking to them, could you please also make sure there's a monthly maintenance process to that?
Thank you.
Because
Is that what you were going to say?
one
No,
year,
but
and I don't know when
that's
it was, I went in there and that was a hazardous waste site.
Oh, yes.
It was disgusting, and it was like that for months.
Yeah.
So.
You mean there used to be one there and then it was taken away?
Yes, like seasonally it was there. I don't know if one was there last summer or not. I think it was the previous summer. And honest to goodness, I don't think anyone serviced it all summer long. It was
Well,
disgusting.
well, I think that needs to be
That's the
discussed.
company.
Yeah.
But we
and-
have to have a
Wait,
maintenance
wait,
plan
wait.
for them to come out and do it versus say drop it off now and.
And I'm not sure if that is part of the town crew or not. I would rather not get into that conversation.
Right, but
Not
I'm.
having a better understanding as to who's responsible for what.
I wouldn't expect our town crew to clean it. I would expect that whoever we rent the porta potty from, you have, like, Foot Fields has a maintenance, and they come out every month and they clean it out. I would not,
But I think
yeah.
trash and other stuff that is down there is.
Trash, there is a sign now that says pack in, pack out, due to the Cornwall Association bears. We have, a bear donated, and I purchased signs, little brown sign that says pack in, pack out. And it is at the entrance of going into the bend. So as people come into park, they should be able to see that there are no trash cans down there. So hopefully that will eliminate some of that problem.
Well, here's the, can I,
Yeah, so
I
Bruce.
don't know whether we have responsibility in that area or not, but it is a mess. I didn't know you were talking about porta johns, I don't know anything about that.
Ugh.
But just the whole area is a mess, which encourages people to be messy when they're there.
Yeah,
And
that's
so it just gets messier, messier, messier. I thought the town at one point had committed to taking care of it, but, you know, there's lots of little areas that the town should be taking care of that, or somebody should be taking
Well, I
care of
guess
that aren't taking care of.
that is not a discussion
That would be a great site for cleanup Cornwall
Well,
Bridge, too.
That's exactly right, and I think that that's something
And that includes a little park on the, to the right of the bridge that needs to be taken over. I know there's always people doing that, but you know, every time I ask somebody, it's like, well, I just got to a point where I couldn't stand it anymore.
Right.
So I
Well,
brought,
there's a lot of cleanup in this town that's done by volunteers. For example, the swap shop.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's no organization to it, because I know people have
Right.
gotten irritated.
But it's not our problem to solve.
No,
And
Just-
I think we're feeding Karen some other things to talk to our first selectman about,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I have one more thing.
All right, and Bruce has one more
One more
thing.
thing, so I'm really confused about the Cornwall Bridge development. I hear that we have plans for a change of the road and stop signs and walkways.
That's a
and-
grant that is under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen, and they will be moving forward on it because that's a DOT grant.
Yeah, it was a state grant to improve pedestrian access.
Yes.
Not to change the roads.
No, no. And the
Not to
only
change
thing,
the roads.
and what they applied for was some better crosswalks.
Not better, cross.
Crosswalks, yeah,
Well, we
There's a
have-
sidewalk from the fire station to the market.
Right.
right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a grant.
Sidewalks.
That grant application was on the Board of Selectmen's plate for probably 4 years to try and get that money. So it's finally come to fruition, and then you have to deal with how you're going to do it, yeah. So that
Okay,
is.
so
It's the Transportation Rural Improvement
Right,
Plan or Program.
Trip.
yes.
Yeah.
So this commission has no
But
jurisdiction.
they're not
and
changing,
that's-
they can't change Route 7.
No,
It's a state road.
that's right.
that's what they need to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, no.
That's not what the grant does.
All right, moving on, Karen, no enforcement actions, correct?
No, but I just wanted to pass on an interesting compliment that I received from a very, Katie Frygang is obviously head of Sustainable CT and all sorts of things, and I sat next to her.
She's on the Conservation Commission
Yep.
also.
But she made a comment that I thought I would pass along, and she said that what the town is missing, she says, it's only planning and zoning that once a year has a meeting and you can go and hear what everybody else is doing. And she said, and why we need more of what planning and zoning does for their planning meeting, because it's so nice to hear what everybody has done over the whole year. So communication, she attributed it to, yes.
So she wants us to do that 4 times a year.
No, but we were, this also triggers a conversation in which, if you think about it, there are quite a few commissions in this town. And a commission is different from a sort of a committee or a Cornwall association. They have certain legal obligations to be open and available to the public, and for the public to know what they're doing. And I think it would be very nice if we could figure out a mechanism for just sending out little blurbs. You know, in the old days, for example, the Cornwall Chronicle used to have a monthly blurb just talking about what the P&Z dealt with, a few sentences, what they were doing this month. I'm not sure the Chronicle is the right venue, but maybe the Selectmen's newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Park and Rec does a fabulous job of letting people know what's going on, but we never hear from the EDC. We don't know what the Conservation Commission is doing, and people generally don't know what we're doing. So I thought that would be something to explore too. And I'm willing to take that on. You've got plenty of things to talk to the First Selectman about. I will speak to Jane, because she's the newsletter.
The question is how to get people together to be able to educate them. So maybe if we have the Rolling Stones play, we can bring in everybody in town, right?
You want to get them? Can you get them?
No.
You could always set up a booth at the Taste of Cornwall and have question and answers there.
Yeah.
Cool idea.
And nonprofits and organizations set up for free. So,
Yeah, the farm show too.
the ag fair.
Ag fair conservation goes to that,
Mm-hmm.
and they get pretty good response.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm. That's another venue. That's great. Okay, we're going to go to the planning workshop, and we're going to look at the latest document from Janelle, where she took the discussions from all the meetings and the agreements that we made, and actually wrote them up into language, the language of the current zoning regulations. What exactly would be changed? So let's just go through this. It's not very much. We'll go through it again. We defined the duplex and the triplex, changing the words several times from a structure that contains 2 houses or 2 homes. We're now going to uniformly say dwelling units. We're changing the definition of multifamily housing. Similarly, development on a single lot that contains 3 or more dwelling units. So a triplex would be multifamily housing by this definition.
A single family with 2 ADUs.
Say it again?
A single family home with 2 ADU units on it, that would fall under that?
Yeah. And then, so of course, under permitted uses, we have to change that's the table that's in our regulations. And then under general business zone, we threw in there that restaurants are now going to only require site plans, which is plenty onerous and informative, and not have to have a special permit, which entails the public hearing. We certainly want to encourage more restaurants, so this is one less obstacle in the path. And then we had agreed that the whole issue of converting an existing single-family dwelling, we were just going to take that away, because nobody's ever done it, and we couldn't really agree on appropriate language for it. Then under special use provisions, mixed uses, we talked quite a bit about, what happens in the general business zone, and we decided that residential use in a commercially used building may be permitted subject to this approval of a site plan. And there are some parking rules, and then just the statements about how a mixed-use proposal has to meet all of the special permit article standards.
And is it site plan or special permit?
Special permit.
Special permit.
Okay.
And really, in the world we live in today, the strict division of buildings into homes versus businesses just isn't appropriate anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things are much more fluid than they used to be.
But you don't want to eliminate the ability to have business in a business zone.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
That has nothing to do with it, but this has to do with
Well, when you're allowing to have residential in any business zone anywhere,
right.
either upstairs or downstairs, you have the threat
Right.
of
And
doing
what-
it, but we all agreed to it.
Yeah, and what we're adding to is the old regulation that allowed people to put an apartment in a business
Right,
building.
yeah.
And they had to have a special permit for that. So this is just kind of expanded on that concept. And then we are going to remove a paragraph, and this is not something we discussed, but Janelle alerted me to 10.7, which she underlined it to indicate that she thought we should remove it. She called me about this. Because it's old-fashioned.
So it sounds like this kind of setup would be what we're talking about, like in Cornwall Bridge, where you have that little strip where it's the
Right.
hardware store and then all
Right.
those businesses that,
Or the frame shop and the post office.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Right.
basically in the same building.
Right, right. And the old requirement says remain in single ownership.
right.
So, but we want to allow more than one permitted, we want to allow that, and if we don't include that in here, if we remove this, are we still allowing it? Does that make sense? We don't, I think we only want to remove a section of this
Because of our permissive zoning.
because of our permissive
Right.
zoning. So,
Thanks for that. How should it read to make that more clear?
Let's see.
what does she
Yeah, I don't-
think is old fashioned about it? The ownership?
Well, the idea of a shopping center. I don't
We
know.
want to allow multiple uses in
Yeah.
one building.
Is it, I mean, because like under single ownership, like even though the frame shop and the post office are virtually in the same building, I don't know who owns that building, but certainly you figure the federal government and Steve are not, co-owners of it.
No.
So there's gotta be two, or maybe there's
They're
one and they're renting.
one
Right.
unit. So what, I guess.
I think maybe she just felt it was redundant and that we don't need it at all because everything that it talks about is allowed under our new paragraph called mixed uses, 10.3.
I mean, the question I have, is there, in a building like that, I don't know,
Recording in progress.
single ownership, I don't know how it could be owned by more than one person.
Yeah, me too. As soon as I said it, I started asking myself that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just recommended we take it out And now we're in a pickle because I really want to finalize this today so we can set it for a public hearing.
I'm happy to finalize it if we just let's just keep 10.7.
Let's keep 10.7 for
discuss
now,
it.
and then
Yeah.
we'll work on it, and then work on it on some other
I'm trying to
occasion.
figure out, so
Okay.
if she was here, I think, because she
Yeah.
might be able to explain
Yeah.
it a little better.
Yeah. And then the final thing we changed was we're now allowing any developer who wants to build multifamily housing. Which, you know, we have to allow if we're going to allow triplexes.
Mhm.
We can't just have triplexes built by the Cornwall Housing Corporation.
I think it's important to allow other people to do it.
Me too.
I think the best thing we could do is to look at some of our aging seniors and figure out how to help them get an ADU and convert their houses into things to pay for their living.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I'm still hoping
So-
for a developer to come in and do senior condos, because I
Yeah.
think they're a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
So, okay, so with the exception of the removed 10.7,
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
So we have a regulation that says that only one homestead can be on a driveway, or two homesteads can be on a driveway, right?
A shared driveway.
A shared driveway. So if we're allowing a triplex, which could be three separate buildings.
Mm-mm.
well,
As a
now-
triplex,
Triplex is under one
roof.
roof.
Well, it has to be one,
Multifamily housing, however, could be three
could
separate
be three
buildings.
separate houses, buildings. And is that in conflict with our regulation for driveways?
It's still one lot.
Is one lot.
It doesn't matter, you still can't put three houses
No,
on a
because
driveway, access those even on one lot.
Yeah, you can.
No.
It's how many lots can be served by the driveway, not how many residences or buildings can be served by the common driveway.
Oh,
So if you have,
That's right.
Yeah.
Free. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you could.
So in other words, you can't have three lots.
So
So
when
you have a lot
we
here,
talk
here,
about a
here.
shared driveway,
One of them has to have their own driveway.
yeah,
Okay.
it's two separate lots, two owners who are getting together and putting together a covenant allowing,
Right.
you know, splitting up the responsibility for maintenance, et cetera.
right,
Right, thanks,
you have a
James.
private street or something and all that, but everybody has their own lot.
Right.
So this is, you still have a single lot that's being served by.
Does that vary if you're in a commercial zone?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, maybe I shouldn't out myself, but behind the rug shop,
Right.
you go down, got one house this way, one house that way, and we share with the rug shop and the candle shop. Everybody comes down that driveway.
Well,
Oh, you
That's
better rest.
grandfathered in.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I thank God.
It's it's non-conforming and therefore.
I mean, I do have all that language of this person says this and this person, and we can all do it, but,
Right. It's a situation that isn't going to happen ever again,
okay.
okay?
Yeah,
And
it
we
shouldn't,
should-
I don't think it should matter if it's commercial, I think.
Okay.
Each lot has its own house.
and under site plan too, the minute you're talking about parking, and if it's in Cornwall Bridge where you now have gonna be more shared parking because of crosswalks, et cetera, I think, right now, the Cornwall Country Markets staff parks across the bridge. So,
Right.
and so when.
There's
you
going to be
look-
more fluidity,
Yes, yeah.
right, which is good.
You know, the big thing, health, safety, and welfare is that cars can get in, and park, and turn around, go out front ways, people aren't being run over, and there's
No,
no
we're
congestion.
all good down there.
And
nobody's
the
running
fire
over.
department, you know,
So, yeah,
Did we talk about reducing the height requirement?
well, we're going to get to that too. We haven't put that in here, but it's on my list, and I'll talk about it in a minute.
Sorry about that.
I would like a motion to set these changes that we've reviewed once again for public hearing at our June meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second by James. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Okay, we've got two more things to do. We're going to get out of here early tonight. We're going to take a look at the insert for the Chronicle. The first side of the Chronicle is the Have You Heard page. I'm going to give you a moment to read it. the back of the one with the
Ah.
pictures.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
And then the next page talks about what we're proposing to include. And I thought it would be handy to let people look at some pictures of duplexes and
Yeah,
triplexes
this is a great idea.
that would fit right in with
It's a great
housing
idea.
in Cornwall.
That's really smart. That's great. Yeah.
The one that this is,
We can amend this. I have an extended deadline with the Chronicle for submitting it.
Oh, nice.
and in the 35 days to the COG, we're going to deal with internally, so.
Yeah, we don't need to discuss that again.
And the only last thing to discuss this proposal, I think it's a regulatory process, as opposed to we're not regulations, so it's not, how do I want to put it?
Karen is talking about the fact that the COG has to have 35 days in which to respond to they have never, in my time, used 35 days.
To respond to our what's?
To our proposal. They get to look at the regulatory change and make comments and
Okay.
suggestions.
Okay.
And Karen is worried that we set the public hearing before the end of the 35th day.
Ah,
But I think they're going to respond sooner. And if we haven't heard from them around day 25 or 28, I'll call them.
yes.
Okay.
I'm
So we have a plan, we're not ignoring the
Oh,
law.
no.
They
But
have
the
the
other
information?
thing,
We're gonna give it to them after tonight.
Okay.
this is just my thinking when, to discuss this proposal. These are your regulations as opposed to somebody coming in and proposing something else. People need to respond to what is the regulations as opposed to proposing other things. That's all, the wording. It kind of.
Huh? What are you talking
The
about?
last sentence, there will be a hybrid public hearing to discuss this.
Okay, well, you know what? I had different language, and my contact person at the Chronicle made some suggestions, such as changed my use of the word waitress to waitstaff, which was very appropriate, and she felt I should write this, whereas what I had said was that we're going to just have a public hearing. So should
Yeah,
we
I
go
think-
ahead and cross out to discuss?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also wonder, and I've been debating this, so I'm sorry for not saying anything sooner. The phrase at the bottom of the first page, we can and we must do something about this situation.
Okay, I'm not married to it.
Yeah, I think
it's a little
it's,
too strong for me.
Okay, I'm always, I'm always like that.
I know,
I'll cross it out.
I was just imagining mom in the 1960s
Well,
protesting
yeah,
something.
you know, I'm a college student
That could be
protester at
American
heart.
Yeah, burning her bra.
Burning your bra, exactly.
Okay, well, cross that out.
Yeah, it
The
might be
scary
more
part is we were there.
if we tie it to some data that is local to Cornwall.
Yeah,
You highlighted a lot of powerful facts.
Okay.
I liked the Connecticut is second only to Jersey. That as a fact, you're right, was
Do you
it's nice
think
to
we need
have.
to add more data?
I do, specific to Cornwall.
Okay, well, remember I sent you all some graphs that had been part of a webinar on housing
Yes.
from Jocelyn
Yeah.
Gare's organization?
Yeah.
Might be what I'm referencing.
Okay, so, you don't have those on your computer, do you, Karen or Christine?
I don't.
Here's the one that that really stood out for me.
Did you put them in the drive or just email them?
No, I just emailed them. One of the pieces of data was the 911 calls, or 211 calls that had come from Cornwall over a specified period of time that were related to housing questions. And there were 67 calls from people wanting information about shelters. I mean, that is an astonishing number.
You mean like available houses or?
No, like,
Shelters, public shelters.
yeah,
Public shelters.
yeah, where they could
And then
go.
there were a certain number of calls about needing rental assistance and a certain number of calls about needing mortgage assistance. So I found that, rather than a graph, a chart, you know, I love charts, I'm a data geek, but not everybody likes to look at the data that way.
I agree. Quick, understandable fact that people can relate to.
That there are a lot of concerns about housing in
Yeah.
Cornwall, and people are calling 211.
Great idea.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, do you want me to send it around again this evening so you can look at it one more time before we find it? Well, we can't do that.
I'll be fast asleep.
Is this the one?
No, that's the one Christine had.
This is what I've got, but if you scroll down, you'll find it.
Sorry, Richard.
There. Housing-related calls to 211. We don't, well,
What's 211?
that's the general information line. If you have a,
Same as 311?
it's a general information line
Oh.
For the town of Kent?
for the state.
The state, okay.
So there were 9 people who called about contact info, 1 about home repair and maintenance, 6 called about landlord-tenant issues, 4 about low-cost housing, 4 about mortgage assistance, 9 about rental assistance, and 67 calls inquiring about shelters. I happen to know of one family in Cornwall that is about to be foreclosed with a bunch of children in Cornwall school. We do have a crisis, even here in Cornwall.
Oh.
So could I stick this graph then, this one graph?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Will.
Of course.
Appreciate the comments.
I didn't know 211 existed until just now.
Neither did
I don't think a lot of people.
What does it say?
Well, 211 is the number to call for information on community-based health, social, and government services. It's the number to call when you need help but aren't sure where to turn.
Right.
And I was used to, in the city, 311, but
Uh-huh.
that's when you have to deal with like municipal services,
Mhm.
like garbage, road repair,
Mhm.
I don't know, road
Mhm.
blockage and stuff like that. So I,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm used to calling 311, but I didn't know 211
And
existed.
it's a Connecticut number, correct?
No, it
Everywhere?
seems to be all over the place.
Yeah. Well, aren't we all lucky that we haven't had to call?
Yeah.
And I think 211 is where people in a mental health crisis situation also call. I may be wrong about that.
That would make more sense.
You know, one number, you can't have 911 and 211, that's plain,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so we've agreed on the insert, and what are we going to do between now and July 17th, when Stephen Trinkus is going to give a public talk about stormwater management? So we have the month of June to move on to something else in our next planning meeting, and I thought we could do a bunch of little things. The old minutes show quite a few amendments that, you know, had tinkered with a little bit with signage, a little bit with driveways, a little bit with this, a little bit with that. We want the height change.
Yeah.
We could squeeze in some kind of appropriate sign change that James would decide upon for us. And then what was the other one, Karen? I took notes, and where are they now?
Do we want to go back to this thing from Janelle that we had questions on?
We could go back to that,
10.7.
and
10.7.
here's
Are you
mine
gonna do food trucks?
here.
That sounds like
Right.
Stuff that is so neat.
Yeah.
Food trucks, yeah, the food trucks, signs and food trucks. And if you have any other little things that have been nagging you that you want changed in the regs,
Ooh, yes.
Do you think food trucks is little?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that should be bunched with restaurant regulations. Maybe special events.
I'm curious where that one might go.
Oh, I know where it's gone in the town I live in.
Yeah.
Where?
Tell us, Town Highland? Is it a big deal there?
Controversial was not the word for it. You would have thought that the New Hartford was going to go to hell in a basket.
They've
But,
had controversial with the food truck in Kent, right? The ones just south of town, those are controversial, things come up about.
Okay.
You mean the
then.
hot dog guy?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's been there he's going on year 25.
Oh, okay.
but
What was controversial though is they allow hot dog man, but not food trucks. They had a food truck show up and even though they were giving away food, they made the food truck leave because Kent does not allow food
Well,
trucks.
because they
Right.
want to protect their restaurant businesses, which are, legion.
It was like COVID time and so he was trying to feed people and didn't allow.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They don't allow.
Do we allow food trucks for events that are held by not-for-profits?
exactly, there's a food truck here at the library.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cream Hill Lake does food trucks,
Cream
pizza.
Hill Lake has food trucks.
And
Park and Rec, we do food trucks.
So, but
for
there-
Fest.
there
so
is a
why
typical-
do we need to change anything? It's not adequate, Karen? I mean,
I think
the
it
Little
needs to be
Gill is
clarified
a
a little
not-for-profit.
bit better as to the right, because when Gordon said, who's in charge of food trucks?
TAHD is. Torrington Area Health District.
Is the question whether or not, like, James is gonna have a party, can he have a food truck at his house? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that could be a
Well, then
question.
how can we stop the cider mill from having food trucks?
And, well, what's the difference between a food truck and a mobile trailer with?
A hot dog stand has to be taken off site. A food truck drives off site.
I'm just
Okay.
thinking it's different if it's somebody's personal property, they have
Right.
a vet and they have a food truck, that's one thing. If you're talking about Foot Fields, which is a town and the food truck's there
Absolutely.
for 6 months, that's another
But
story.
why do we care if a private person has what we allow them to hire a caterer who will bring a big van and park in front of their house and unload all the food and serve it? So if the truck comes and they don't actually move into the house and the people just come to the curb and get the food,
But is the truck leaving every night?
But it-
yes.
Yes.
Is it-
Yes, it's not that the truck is spending the night there, we're having a party and it's my mom's 80th
Well, the
birthday.
difference that I can think of is that the food truck is running the whole time, emitting
Oh, there's a
emissions.
generator,
There's a generator.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
you're right.
But anybody can have a generator running on their lot for any reason, we don't regulate that.
But I couldn't necessarily go to Footfields with my own personal generator
Yeah, and it's a
and
commercial
power up.
endeavor.
Well, I
You know,
think-
people show up to buy something.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that the whole issue of
Boy,
food
they
trucks
buy
is
your
we need
getting-
to think about some sort of that the town feels that those entities that are responsible for health, safety, and welfare, congestion, noise, or whatever, Board of Selectmen, planning and zoning through a regulatory process, addresses it in some fashion.
Okay, but as everybody has said now, it's not a little thing, and we
Yeah.
can't just
Yeah.
throw it together with a bunch of other stuff that are little things.
I mean, they are
How do you
regulated,
feel about my concept of little things for our June meeting?
I think it's a
that's
good
right.
idea. Yeah, and if something becomes too big, we don't,
Right, then
We'll
we
take
just
it
don't
off.
tackle it.
Yeah.
So between now and then, you can all, go through your regulations and see what else.
Signs is little?
Well,
Good.
we don't have to change the whole sign regulation. We can make a small change now, is what I'm thinking. And you have talked about signs for all the years that I've known you
Somebody
here.
assigned it to me 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I never followed through, that's
Yeah,
why.
but
We
it's,
have to
Signs are
release
signs.
And by size change, are we going smaller or bigger? What's
Well,
the
in the
discussion?
old days, we had our sign regs are they're thick, and they're a large part of our regulations. back
Yes.
then. And we had a member of the community that was kind of a sign Nazi, if you will.
Ron Hummel.
Yeah, and so he kept having issues with a lot of the signs that pop up in Cornwall Bridge, et cetera, so it was kind of on the forefront.
Well,
of
thanks
the
to him, we
commissions.
got rid of neon signs.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Back in the
issues
90s.
that he brought to our attention, but it was also, it was certainly more active. It was like affordable housing back then with signs, and we were talking about signs.
I can confirm completely, since the get-go, in all of the history project, that I'm now up to 1994, sign complaints has been a consistent complaint brought forward by the citizens of Cornwall. But now, what we're hearing from businesses is that they're too constraining. And so, especially I think in Cornwall Bridge,
Yeah.
because the stores are set so far back from the road, that the size issue comes into
People are going so fast.
So maybe, since I'm saying this, that I'll just ask you to look at the size.
Sure, I'll look at the regs
Yeah.
again.
And just like the specificity of them, I do think they could be,
Yeah.
So
we can
changes-
rewrite them to make them
Are we
clearer.
changing
Yes, they're
this
not,
to discuss
I looked
this
at it for our
regulation?
site at
Or
Folk
we're
Field,
taking this
and it
whole
was
thing?
like,
I don't even know what I, yeah,
Sure,
sure,
we
two by
should-
two, but like,
Nobody likes
what
calling
does
it
that
a
mean?
proposal.
Yeah, where did, yeah.
But are you going to call it a regulation? I mean, should we call it a regulation? Isn't that what it is?
Yes. Right.
Change it instead of just.
No, I'm gonna be more specific than that. In the Cornwall Library to hear public testimony about the proposed regulation.
Perfect.
Because my contact at the Chronicle had also originally changed it to the people could come to the hybrid public hearing to ask questions. Anyway, very helpful person helping me with moving heaven and earth to make this happen for June. So I much appreciate her. Okay, to hear public testimony about this regulation. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the last thing on my mind for tonight.
nice,
Record.
diggity.
Isn't
Good
that
job.
nice? You get to go home and go to
I
bed.
appreciate it.
Yeah. And we thank Richard for coming down on very little warning to help us.
Rocco, did you have anything that you wanted to say? I'm not sure I have you unmuted.
Is Rocco the only one on?
Oh. Rocco?
He's putting the kids to bed.
Okay.
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Did you have anything that you'd like to add?
I think you had it muted for about the last 20 minutes, so I couldn't hear anything.
Well, then you might have to listen to Richard's recording. I apologize. I thought I had muted you. So, I apologize.
Oh, no worries, I'm good.
Okay.
A motion to adjourn
So moved.
Second.
at 7:54 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
And thanks for coming down, everybody.
Thank you.
That's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Meeting over.